Hi guys, Andy here. I'm here to bring you all things mundane and makeup related. That's your vibe. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to be part of my little slice of the internet. And in today's video, I'm bringing you what would have been my June update for the Fantasy Self Project Pan, but it's actually going to be my finale. So if you want to see the progress that I made on the shades that I was still working on, why this is going to be my finale, and everything in between, let's just go ahead and get on into it. So if you haven't been following along with this project, hi. I took inspiration from Laura Force and Haley Eyeshadows and their Future Self Showdown project. It's where you make a BYOP, which I did in this ColourPop palette, and it's filled with shades that are your fantasy self shades. I will put up a photo of what the palette looked like originally in case you did not see that, because it's not what it looks like now. There are shades that you never use, but you can't seem to declutter. So this was supposed to be the first palette. And then in this update, after we decided what we were doing with these last few shades, we were going to make another Fantasy Self palette together. I've decided to not make another one, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video. But we're just going to first get started with what is in the palette. So this is what my palette currently looks like. So as you can see, very different from what we started with. We have decluttered a lot of things along the way. And yeah, it is what it is. I assumed that we were going to declutter a lot of things just because, with this being fantasy shades and shades that, I never use, there's probably a reason for that. So we're just going to go through one by one what the shades were that are left from the bottom. So we have Give Me Glow Sunny, this big old shade. This shade is beautiful. Love it. And I love yellows. But I've just decided, and you'll be seeing all through June declutters, because I'm going to do my quick version of declutters. But I think I'm going to declutter all of my mattes that are single shadows, because this is just not how I do my makeup. I'm not coming into my singles looking for mattes. It's interesting enough that I come into my singles looking for shimmers. Like, I wanted to be a BYOP person where, like, I'm going to dupe this color story and I'm going to do this, but it's not me. And I need to come to terms with the fact that, like, that's just not me. And even though this shade objectively is very pretty and I like the formula, Give Me Glow has a great matte formula, and this is one of their old shades because it's the bigger pans. I'm not going to gravitate toward it. I have yet gravitate towards it. But I have yellows in other palettes. I don't have necessarily an exact dupe for this tone of yellow, but I'll be okay. So I never used it. I decided on the 16th of May that I was decluttering it. So it went. It got decluttered. So let me see here. What else do we have? We have Sydney Grace Relax, which I never know which one of these is which. Here we are. This one is Relax. This is beautiful. I ended up using this twice, and on the 16th of May, I decided to declutter it because, again, even though this is beautiful, I love the Sydney Grace formula. Just for the same reason, I don't use the mattes. I just don't. I'm not going to reach for my matte shades. Unless they're, like, an extremely specific color, I feel, in, like, yellow and brown. I have those a million times over in palettes. I don't need them in singles. So I also have Sydney Grace Bravo, which I really enjoyed. I used this twice as well, and it was beautiful. But I just don't need it. and I don't want it, and it's not my makeup style, and I have come to figure that out. And that was part of this project as well, was figuring those things out. Then we have Give Me Glow Brazilian Bikini. This shade is beautiful, but I have the ColourPop High Tide palette, which is all teals. I'm never going to reach for this single teal matte shade when I have a whole palette of teals. So I can get rid of that as well. So those all are being decluttered. And I didn't even write that I was decluttering that. So we will do that today. So then we have Pretties for Your Face Celebration. This is the only shade that I will be keeping. I really do love this shade. I've used it twice in the project, and I just think that it's really pretty and it is unique. And so that is a shade I will be keeping, and it will be going back in my collection. Here's what it looks like. It's like a purple to blue, and it's just really, really pretty. So then, what are you? Nope, you guys are all in different things. Okay. So the last shade that we were still working on was Intrigue Vibration. So you guys are seeing like a green gold. When I look at it, I see a tealy blue purple. It was fine. I used it once. You really have to build it up. You have to really get in there to get it on the eye. And it's not a duochrome color that I enjoy reaching for. And I don't love when I look at a shade in the pan and I'm like, okay, cool, that's a tealy purple, so that I'm going to pull out tealy purple looks. And then I go to put it on the eye and it's a bright green. I don't know. So I'm decluttering that as well. So out of the entire palette that I made back in January, I might have made it in December because I know I started working on it before I made my intro for you guys. The only shade that I am keeping is Pretties for Your Face Celebration. And I think that says a lot about this project. Sometimes your fantasy self that's it. Just, it's a fantasy. Not things you actually use or need or want. So in regards to doing another palette, because I was originally going to do another one for the second half of the year, I just don't see any more fantasy shades in my collection. Like I said, you guys will be seeing a declutter coming up, and that's going to take care of a lot of that. And I still have my Imageddon going on, so I am still working on my single shadows in another project. And I did feel like these projects competed for my attention. So I would rather just work on my Imageddon project pan. I do really like this project. This is currently what I'm working on because I've rolled out, I think I've decluttered 2 shades and I met goal on 1 shade. But this is currently what I'm working on from Imageddon. So I would rather just have that project. I think that'll be good for my singles. And I'm going to really be cutting down my number of singles that are in my collection once you guys see my declutter. But I hope you understand. I hope that's okay. I did have fun with this. I learned a lot about how I do single shadows. That'll definitely help me make purchases in the future. No mattes. Especially, I feel, because my ColourPop palettes are magnetic, my Natasha Denona palettes are magnetic, and then I probably have a few other random things that are magnetic. If I want a matte shade, if I have a wild hair to make a build your own palette, I can pull mattes that I have from those brands. I don't need these random mattes, even though they're good, lying around waiting for me to make palettes that I might never make. That's just how I feel about that. Where someone who will actually use them, I could pass them on and they will use them. They could use them every day. Because these 2 Sydney Grace shades were stunning. They were beautiful matte browns. But I have a million matte browns. So I don't need them in a single. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys understand. And that is going to do it for my update/finale for the Fantasy Self Project Pan. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.